Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I am Tom, and today we're going to continue talking about El Camino de Santiago, which is sometimes referred to as the Way, or the Way of St. James. It's a trail mostly in northern Spain, but it does have sub-routes in France and in the rest of Spain. I think there's one that goes through Portugal as well.
Cool.
And for a lot of people, this is a lifelong quest to hike this trail. It's something they train for. It's something that they look forward to, and maybe you would consider doing this too. We did talk about this in our program last time. In fact, there was a movie that was kind of based on this trail, although it was a work of fiction. I think I remember seeing it with my wife and daughter many years ago. Yeah, I think we saw it at the Second Run movie theater in Jingmei, and I don't really remember what it was about because, my goodness, we've seen hundreds of films there, and I can't really keep track of them all.
Wow. Yeah, it was a film that came out in 2010 with Martin Sheen, Emilio Estevez, and I know his last name is different from Martin Sheen, but Martin Sheen is his father, his real father. They actually look very similar. Yeah, Charlie Sheen is also one of the brothers. He's the crazy, whacked-out guy. But anyway, this film, when it came out, really got good reviews. And if you really want to see what this area looks like, and perhaps you won't ever get your own opportunity to go, or you're not into hiking like me, maybe pick up this film, see where you can rent it or stream it, and check out the scenery because it's supposed to be really beautiful. We're going to continue on today talking about the Camino de Santiago. Check on and see what else, this place is well known for. I'd like to go, I think, Tom, but I perhaps would choose to go with a group. And we'd either, go in a tour group, which I don't love tour groups, or maybe just rent some transportation, but definitely go with a group and not walk. I don't want to walk.
Oh, okay. Well, that's probably the point of doing this. So in any case, that's probably why people want to go. It's kind of a religious quest. It's kind of a pilgrimage. Or it's just something physically challenging that you want to be able to say you've done in your life. It's like an item on your bucket list. But in any case, let's begin our lesson now by reading through the entire contents of today's lesson and find out some more about El Camino de Santiago. A scallop shell isn't the only thing you'll need if you take the Camino de Santiago. First of all, you'll need to choose your route. While the French way is by far the most popular, the Northern way, which follows Spain's northern coast, offers the best scenery, and the sea breeze will cool you down in the hot Spanish summer. However, this route passes through fewer sites of historical interest. One thing you won't have to worry about is accommodation. In Spain, France, and Portugal, there are hostels that offer beds free of charge to pilgrims. In order to verify their status, they must carry a credential or pilgrim's passport. This is stamped at each town or official hostel the pilgrim has stayed in. A credential is also necessary to receive the Compostela. This certificate states the bearer has completed the pilgrimage, walking at least the final 100 kilometers or cycling the last 200 kilometers in the process. Another requirement for the Compostela is that the pilgrimage must have been made for religious reasons. However, those with other motivations for taking the journey can also receive a certificate of completion. Of course, enjoying the journey itself is just as important as reaching the destination. Take the Camino de Santiago at your own pace, joining and leaving groups of your fellow pilgrims as you wish. While some people may seek solitude in order to reflect on their lives, 4 weeks is a long time to spend traveling alone. Connecting with those you meet along the way can broaden your horizons and create special memories, just as it has done for the countless thousands who have walked the Camino de Santiago over the centuries.
Okay, guys, this is day 2 of our travel unit. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first sentence here, a scallop shell. And we talked about those shells in day one. It's some sort of proof that you've gone if you picked up a scallop shell and took it back home. That was in the olden days. A scallop shell isn't the only thing you'll need if you take the Camino de Santiago. So scallops are really quite popular these days to eat. It's a type of shellfish because it comes from a shell. They're kind of bland tasting. They don't have a strong fishy taste. They're usually just cooked in some sort of oil or butter. Butter's even better. But anyway, that's what a scallop is. And the shell, of course, is its protective cover.
I think it's called shanbei in Chinese. So this is a scallop shell. And that's not the only thing you'll need if you take the Camino de Santiago. Okay, so I guess you need to bring that along with you. First of all, you'll need to choose your route. Okay, so it's quite complicated. It covers thousands of kilometers of distance. And of course, there are different routes to choose, although they basically go across northern Spain. But there are other routes as well. And here it says, while the French way is by far the most popular, the northern way, which follows Spain's northern coast, offers the best scenery, and the sea breeze will cool you down in the hot Spanish summer. So here, the French way is by far the most popular. So here we've got while, which means basically it is true that the French way is the most popular. In fact, it's by far the most popular. It's number one, and number two is quite far down the list. Okay, so that's what we mean by far. You could say that, well, I like the Beatles, but they are by far better than the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones, you know, they're okay, but the Beatles are so much better. They're so much better by far, at least in perhaps your opinion.
Yeah, for example, you don't even have to use this particular pattern. You could just say, I like Taiwan's food by far. Maybe you're having a discussion with a friend. One of my best friends lives in Korea. She thinks their food is great. And so if we were having a conversation, I would say, oh, I like Taiwan's food by far. So you like it a lot better than whatever else you're discussing. And I do like Taiwan's food by far. We have great food here. So yeah, so the French way is really popular. The northern way is a route that follows Spain's northern coast and offers the best scenery. So this is kind of surprising because I would think people would choose the route that had the best scenery, although Spain is significantly hotter than France or Italy, both of them combined. It's more like a dry heat. Anyway, it's got the best scenery and it's also close to the sea. So that sea breeze will help cool you down. And you need that because in Spain, in the summer in particular, it is really hot.
Right, so you'll be thinking, well, gee, if it's got the best scenery and it's got a nice sea breeze, then why not do this here? Do the northern way. But here in the last sentence, it says, however, this route passes through fewer sites of historical interest. And as you know, Europe is filled with history. There are lots of old towns that are hundreds, if not thousands of years old.
True.
And of course, you want to stop in those places, walk on those cobblestone streets, and check out their local castle and stuff like that. So if you take the northern way, well, yes, you'll get great scenery, but you won't be passing through so many sites of historical interest. So it's kind of up to you which way you want. Do you want the scenery or do you want the history?
Sounds like it's got more, it's a nature-based route rather than, a city-based route or a village-based route. So it depends on what you like. So moving on to the next paragraph, it says, one thing you won't have to worry about is accommodation. Accommodation is a word we use, especially if we're talking about getting a room or getting a place to rent so you can have a good night's sleep. We'll often use this word in the plural form. Do you have your accommodations for your trip to Europe yet? Accommodations here would mean your lodging, your hotel, your room, and also the food, sometimes your room and board. If you see that phrase room and board, it includes the room that you'll be staying in and also the food that you'll be eating. So yeah, so if you want a good accommodations, just get online. Nowadays, a lot of people are just going to Airbnb or one of those sorts of sites to check out instead of going to hotel sites, but hotels are good too, guys. They're pros and cons to both of those. So in Spain, France, and Portugal, there are hostels that offer beds free of charge to pilgrims. Wow. Yeah, I'm sure they have other things that they have for sale in order to make a living. But a hostel is usually a pretty inexpensive place to stay for the night or maybe a week even. And usually you find a lot of student travelers or backpackers there who don't have a lot of money to pay for expensive accommodations. And also, usually you're sharing a room with other people, or at least you're sharing the bathroom. You don't get your own bathroom. Never.
Exactly. So it's a cheap way to travel, especially in Europe. There are youth hostels for young people to stay at when they're traveling. They're students. They don't have a lot of money, so they need a cheap place to stay. But that's okay because you can share a room with other travelers and make new friends and tell each other stories and stuff like that. As you get older, of course, you want to start staying in hotels and stuff like that that are more comfortable and not so noisy and not so dirty. But in any case here, hey, these places are free of charge. Maybe the church provides these or something, or the government gives people money to set these up. But in any case, you can get those beds free of charge if you're a pilgrim. And in order to verify their status, they must carry a credential or pilgrim's passport. So I suppose if you don't have this credential, you cannot stay in those places with those free beds. So you need to verify your status. Some people pronounce that word as status, or your position, your recognition, etc. And you need to verify that, or you need to prove that you are a pilgrim so that they will let you stay there for free.
It's very interesting because typically with this word credential, which we use in English quite frequently, not a capital C, of course, just a lowercase c, it always has an S on it. So one time I had a policeman, call me on my phone and say that he wanted to talk to me about an accident that had happened. And I said, okay, but I want to go downstairs and meet you before I let you in my building, and I want to see your credentials. That would be like his police badge, his proof that he's real. So if somebody wants to know your credentials, they want to know your qualifications, your background, what gives you the right to do a particular thing. Or an employer might ask about your academic credentials. Where did you go to school? What are your degrees? Things like that. But here it's just singular. And notice it's uppercase credential. This is something that is specific to this pilgrimage. Guys, we're going to take a quick break, listen to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back.
Hello, my name is Shelby. 朝圣之路，我们今天继续上路吧。第一段的第三句 ，While the French way is by far。While 这里当作连接词，表示虽然的意思。法国之路是 by far 什么什么的多或者非常，它是一种比较加强语，通常跟最高级或比较级连用。它是最受欢迎的一条路，北方之路。which 后面形容词子句来形容这条北方之路。offers the best scenery。offer 提供，它的用法 offer something to somebody， 或者也可以写成 offer somebody something。scenery 是风景，它是不可数名词，相当于 landscape。所以呢，它跟 scene 这个字是不太一样的。scene 是可数的，而且表示场景。Sea breeze 海风 breeze 就是微风的意思，另外它还可以表示轻而易举的事情。What a breeze！ 哇，多么轻松简单的事情啊。Cool down 使人冷却或者冷静下来。第二段的第一句 One thing 是这一句话的主词，后面加的句子当成形容词来形容它。is accommodation。 accommodation 住处，便宜的住处就是 cheap accommodation。accommodate 是它的动词，后面直接加受词，例如提供住宿给新来的人，就可以直接说 accommodate the newcomer。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, let's continue with our lesson. We're talking about hiking El Camino de Santiago, or the Way of St. James, whichever way you're going to call it here. Again, that's a trail in France and Spain that leads to Galicia in Spain, and a lot of people, of course, consider this a religious pilgrimage, while others just see it as a physical challenge to hike a really long trail and have a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Now, where we left off, we were talking about accommodation or accommodations, where you're going to stay when you're hiking. You can't do it all in one day. It's going to take you at least 4 weeks, so you are going to need to find some place to sleep, and you don't need to bring your own tent. You can stay in these hostels, which offer beds free of charge to pilgrims. But to verify your status as a pilgrim, you must carry a credential or a pilgrim's passport. Now, this is stamped at each town or official hostel the pilgrim has stayed in. So here in Taiwan, of course, you often have these activities where you're, let's say, at a trade exhibition or something, and you go someplace and you get a stamp in your little book there, and you try to collect all these different stamps in order to win a prize or something like that. So it's kind of similar. As you go along the trail, you get these stamps. Okay, it's a rubber stamp, and they put this little image on your paper or whatever you're carrying there, and that can be your credential, or that will verify your status, and then you can probably stay in these places for free.
Cool. Now, once you actually finish the pilgrimage, you're given a certificate. And on that certificate, which is just usually a piece of paper, it's a document, you could call it, it states that the person who it belongs to, and that's what a bearer is. Who is the bearer of this passport? Oh, it belongs to Tom. It's Tom's passport. The bearer of something. We often use the bearer, guys, to talk about someone who has to deliver bad news. Ooh, the bearer of bad news, or the bearer of bad tidings. So the certificate is that document officially states perhaps it's your graduation certificate, or maybe you took some courses for a year and you got a nurse's certificate. Just says it's an official document that says you did something. And so, for example, in America, we each have our birth certificates, which says your parents' names, the time you were born, what hospital it was. That's a birth certificate. Well, this states that you actually completed that pilgrimage, which is a big deal, walking at least the final 100 kilometers or cycling the last 200 kilometers in the process. So if you stayed the entire time in a car or on a scooter or on a tour bus, you don't get that certificate because you have to at least walked or bicycled a part of the way. Here, the least amount is 100 kilometers or biked the last 200 kilometers.
Yep, so if you fulfill those requirements, then you get that certificate, which is called the Compostela, okay? And that's the only place you're going to see that term here, Compostela, because that is the name of that town in Galicia in Spain, Santiago de Compostela. So that's where you're going to, and you need to complete the final 100 kilometers on foot, or you need to ride your bicycle for the last 200 kilometers, and then you can get that certificate. You can get the Compostela. Now, another requirement for the Compostela is that the pilgrimage must have been made for religious reasons. Okay, so yes, if you want that Compostela, you got to say that you're doing it because you're religious, you're fulfilling some kind of religious quest or something, you're trying to get closer to the Lord or something like that. I suspect this is, or expect this to be related to the Catholic religion. I don't think you could say, well, I need to fulfill, the Noble Eightfold Path of Buddhism. No, that doesn't count. I'm not quite sure. You'd probably have to ask them if Buddhism or Islam counts as a religious reason.
However, it says those with other motivations or reasons for doing something, that's what a motivation is, they can also receive a certificate of completion. It might not be the same, but they give you some sort of certificate saying, yep, they completed this pilgrimage. Motivation, like I said, it's just your reason for doing something. A lot of people have bad motivations for doing good things, or some people have good motivations and maybe the result isn't so good, but they meant well. They meant to do good things. So your motivation or your motive for doing something, you'll often hear that word motive when you're watching crime shows or crime movies. Oh, what was his motive? What was the motive for murder? Why did they actually kill somebody? The reason for doing something, motive or motivation. And different things can motivate you. That's the verb form. What makes you do what you do? What makes you want to produce beautiful artwork or write a song? What is it that gives you that push forward to do it? That's your motivation. What motivates you? So, of course, enjoying the journey itself, hey, that's a good motivation. It's just as important as reaching the destination. So you want to enjoy the way. Enjoy the process of getting there, not just reaching your goal. Your destination, of course, is where you're trying to go, where you're trying to reach. You'll often see this word, of course, in airports. Your travel destination. Or, what's your destination? You're often asked that if you were checking in to check in your luggage or get your ticket at the airport. What's your destination, ma'am? Or what's your final destination? Because sometimes your airplane will stop and you'll change planes and then you'll continue on to your final destination.
That's right. Of course, this reminds me of a phrase my father used to use. Hey, getting there is half the fun.
Yeah.
The trip itself can be a lot of fun. And, of course, eventually, though, you do want to reach your destination, like our family trip back in 75 or something like that. We went to California. That was our final destination.
Fun.
Driving all the way from Iowa. It took us 3 days to drive out there.
Long trip.
But this is a different journey here. Again, you're going to the town in Galicia there. So take the Camino de Santiago at your own pace, joining and leaving groups of your fellow pilgrims as you wish. So, yeah, take it at your own pace, your own speed. Your pace would be how fast you're running in a race, for example. You might have a slow pace during the early part of the race and then speed up toward the end, or go fast at the beginning and slow down at the end. That's your pace, how fast you want to run.
Some people, it says, while some people may seek solitude in order to reflect on their lives, 4 weeks is a long time to spend traveling alone. You'll want to talk to people after a while. Even the weekend, if I haven't, gone out of my apartment or I haven't talked to anybody, I'm eager for Monday so I can talk to someone. Solitude just means the state or the situation of being alone. And to reflect on something means to think pretty deeply about something in your life, to reflect on. You want to reflect on the past 10 years, or you want to reflect on something that has happened to you to see what kind of meaning it has in your life. Well, connecting with people while you're on the pilgrimage or that you meet along the way can broaden your horizons. To broaden your horizons is a phrase we use, just meaning, it can give you an opportunity to look at something in a different way. Maybe you grew up in a certain area of the world and you meet people from another part of the world whose perspective is different, their viewpoint is different on things. That helps you broaden your horizons. The horizon itself is just that line between the sky and the land, or the sky and the sea. You'll often see the horizon when you're watching sunrise or sunset, but broaden your horizons is actually the phrase that we're looking at here. So you want to create some special memories. That often happens when you go on a trip and you meet new people. They can be lifelong friends after that.
They can change your life for you, broaden your horizons, give you a new perspective, just as it has done for countless thousands who have walked the Camino de Santiago over the centuries. So we wish you the best of luck on your trip if you decide to go. And that brings us to the end of our explanation. Let's turn things over now to our Chinese teacher.
第二段的第5句 Certificate 就是证书 States 说明 Bearer 是 bear 加 er。Bear 原来的意思叫携带或承受，后面加 er 变成人，就是持有人。这些人已经完成了整个朝圣的路程。Working or cycling 这2个字写成分词形态，表示它前面省略掉它的主词 who， 动词加上 ing 形成它的分词构句。要走至少100公里，或者是骑脚踏车，在最后的200公里。In the process 就是在整个过程当中。我们看第3段的第1句 Itself 是反身代名词，形容前面的 journey as 表示和什么一样怎么样。第一个 as 是一样，第二个 as 是和 跟的意思，跟抵达目的地一样的重要。第三句 while 连接词虽然的意思， solitude 独处或孤独或在偏远的地方的感觉，但是呢，它并不是 loneliness 孤独的意思那么强烈。Reflect on 是动词片语，后面直接加名词，表示反思或者是反省。4个礼拜对于旅行的人来说是段很漫长的时间。好，这 spend 是花时间，如果加在 spend 后面的动词，我们要把它写成 ing 的形态，所以呢 travel 写成 traveling。第4句 connect 是连接，跟这些人，哪些人呢？后面有一个形容词子句来形容 those people， 你在路上遇见的那些人。Broaden 是 broad 加 en， 使它变宽。Horizon 原来是地平线的意思，加在一起这一个动词片语表示扩展你的视野。Just as 呢是正如同，也是一个连接词。Countless count 原来是计算数的意思， less 没有办法数的，那当然是无数的咯。Thousands 这里不是说成数千人，它是用这个数字来表示很大很多的意思。那这些人后面又有一个形容词子句来形容它，表示好几个世纪以来。以上是今天的讲解，谢谢收听。
That's all for today, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and please join us again next time for another edition of our program before or after you decide to hike El Camino de Santiago.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck with that. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.